Hi, today we are going to learn about diuretics. As the name suggests, these are the drugs which will increase volume of urine. Now it will not only be related to water, it will be more of related to amount of sodium, amount of other electrolytes in urine which are excreted in urine. So before learning diuretics in detail and learning their mechanism of action, we need to know few important things. Now which are those important things? These are all prerequisites which we have already discussed in a lecture. That is, very first thing you need to know about nephron. So what do you know about the nephron? It is a basic functional unit of kidney and it has got various structures which you can recall are glomerulus, proximal convoluted tubule, Henle's loop, distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct which are represented here in a crude manner. Okay. Then you need to know basic processes that occur at nephron. So can you recall, students, that these are filtration which occurs at glomerulus. So it is called as glomerular filtration. Reabsorption, that is substances which once were present in blood have entered in the nephron, that is lumen of the nephron, and are again going back to blood. So they are reabsorbed in blood. So that is reabsorption. Very simple example. Lot of sodium, almost everything gets filtered and enters the renal tubule. But can you afford to lose it? No. So you need to take it back in blood. So that is reabsorption. Secretion. Now, there are certain molecules which escape glomerular filtration because of their large size. Those molecules still needs to be excreted out. So these molecules are coming here, somewhere around here, anywhere at the tubule in the renal tubule. Okay, so that is called as secretion. Osmolality value of cortex to medulla. Now what is osmolarity value? Osmolarity depends upon amount of solute present in a fluid at certain interval. So all of you know the nephron is located like this. This is glomerulus, this is a hairpin bend, and this is collecting duct. This is cortex of the kidney. So all of you know nephron, how it is located now, and this is medulla of the kidney. So from cortex to medulla, there is difference in the osmolarity value. And if you see here from cortex to medulla, like this, the osmolarity value keeps on increasing. From 300 milliosmol, it goes till 1400 milliosmol. So all of you must know now that the concentration of the solute is highest. So similarly, you can say from medulla 1400, it is going to cortex 300. Why am I saying so? Do you remember when you learned anatomy, this part of the nephron is basically freely water permeable, wherein along with the solutes, water will freely follow. You always remember, do you remember water follows sodium, sodium follows water that we had discussed when I taught you urinary system? Then we talk about this part, majorly ascending limb of loop of Henle. This is loop of Henle, this is descending limb, and this is ascending limb. So it is moving from medulla to cortex. Medulla to cortex. Okay. And all of you know cortex is the outermost region of any organ. Medulla, middle region. Right. So going ahead. So here at ascending limb of loop of Henle, what is happening? This particular part of all nephrons is water impermeable, meaning only solute can leave, water cannot. And if you see what is the value of osmolality, it is going on decreasing like this. So more and more solute will leave towards lesser osmolarity. Then you have distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct. So this particular region, okay, it is responsible for facultative or selective water reabsorption under the influence of antidiuretic hormone, which is present in our body. So based upon what is the volume of water in urine, water will be reabsorbed from here. Okay. So these are some principal things which you should know. Apart from it, what more you should know and perfectly remember is there are various transporters along the lumen, okay, along entire this tubular portion. And these transporters are responsible for influx and efflux of various solutes, or more precisely electrolytes, which are sodium, proton or H plus, so Na plus, H plus, K plus, amino acids, glucose, fluoride, calcium, magnesium, all these electrolytes are transported with the help of the transporters. And these transporters are present at the luminal side and basolateral side. What is luminal side? What is basolateral side? I will tell you. And lastly, you should majorly focus on sodium reabsorption process. Why? Because you will learn in the mechanism of action of all diuretics, we are playing with sodium reabsorption majorly, because it is a major electrolyte which plays role in volume of urine. And then we are altering the urine volume, sodium levels in the urine, water volume, various other solutes are also affected. So this is an introductory part for going ahead into diuretic chapter. So we are talking now about transporters for sodium and related ions and substances. Henceforth, the discussion will go like, we will discuss the part of nephron, sorry, how much sodium is reabsorbed in that part, and which are the various transporters. So first, of course, we will start with PCT, that is proximal convoluted tubule. At proximal convoluted tubule, 65% of sodium, that is a major amount, is reabsorbed with the help of sodium H plus antiporter, which are present at the luminal side. So I was discussing there is a luminal side and there is a basolateral side. So this is a lumen of the nephron, okay, the tube, nephron tube, or renal tubule, which you say. So lumen, right, hollow region. This is a cell which is lining nephron. So this is luminal side of the cell, and this is basolateral side of the cell. Basolateral will be denoted as BL. Now what happens? At luminal side, you have different transporters. At basolateral side, you have different transporters. You need to remember the transporters from luminal side cannot move to basolateral side, and transporters from basolateral side cannot move to luminal side. So their positions are fixed, meaning when I say, so Na plus H plus antiporter is present at the luminal side, it is confined to luminal side. K plus Na plus antiporter, that is 3Na plus 2K plus ATPase, is present at the basolateral side. This is very important. What it does, 3 sodium molecules are expelled out of the cell, 2 potassium molecules are coming in, and this is happening everywhere in the nephron, along the nephron, almost all the cells. So when you talk about this, just let us enlist. Sodium takes along glucose. So sodium glucose importer is present, which is not shown here. Sodium amino acids importer is present, again, which is not shown here. Our interest lies in this. Sorry. So here what happens exactly? See very carefully. Sodium is leaving the lumen. Why sodium is leaving the lumen? Is sodium important for our body? Of course, yes. Sodium gets freely filtrated. along the nephron. Okay, glomerular nephritis. That sodium, if it is excreted out, we will lack sodium in our body. We don't want to waste sodium. So what we want, lot of sodium has to be reabsorbed back in our body. To make that happen, first step, at proximal convoluted tubule, sodium leaving the lumen and entering in the cell. Okay, this is a cell which is lining proximal convoluted tubule. In exchange of this sodium, H plus molecule, H plus ion is leaving the cell and entering in the lumen. Okay. Now what is happening? Lot of sodium is coming in. So more and more sodium in the cell. This sodium is expelled out with the help of 3Na plus 2K plus ATPase. Okay. So moral of the story is, to take sodium in, you should give out H plus, right? Give out of the cell in the lumen. This H plus, from where this H plus is coming, you see H plus enters here, combines with bicarbonate ions and forms H2CO3. It is carbonic acid. This carbonic acid, under the influence of a very important enzyme, that is carbonic anhydrase enzyme, gets converted into water and carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide freely diffuses inside this cell, combines with water, again under the influence of cellular carbonic anhydrase enzyme, which is present in the cell. What it does? It forms carbonic acid. This carbonic acid breaks down, gives one H plus and one bicarbonate ion, which can be reabsorbed. Okay. So there are two things which are achieved. This entire process is called as H plus ion recycling, and second, the bicarbonate ions, which are again very, very important for us, for our body, are not excreted. They are again recycled and reabsorbed. Okay. So this entire process is clear. Now, what is the importance of this process, or can we make use of this process anywhere? Imagine if I inhibit carbonic anhydrase enzyme, what would you achieve? Inhibition here and inhibition here. Do you think it will affect H plus ion number? Yes. What happens is, if I inhibit this carbonic acid anhydrase enzyme, there is no H plus formed. No H plus entering in the lumen. No H plus entering, no sodium coming. And because of this, what will happen is, more and more sodium has to reside in the lumen. More and more sodium will be going to latter part of the nephron. So, to make it more clearer, we will talk about acetazolamide later. What happens if we inhibit carbonic anhydrase? It will inhibit H2CO3's conversion into water and carbon dioxide. It will inhibit the formation of H plus in the cell. So less H plus in the cell, no H plus exchange from the cell, sodium remains trapped in the lumen, and it will lead to increased excretion of sodium. You may think, wow, I am able to inhibit reabsorption of sodium at a point where it is 65% reabsorbed. So it should be very strong diuretic. But no. Acetazolamide, which is a drug which represents inhibition of carbonic anhydrase, or which represents diuretic which inhibit carbonic anhydrase, this class is called as carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, is a mild diuretic. Now, in a layman's language, why it is a mild diuretic? Sodium escapes reabsorption in proximal convoluted tubule, but it goes in the later part and in the later part of the nephron, meaning at ascending limb of loop of Henle, at distal convoluted tubule, And at collecting duct, there are mechanisms in place to take the excess sodium and give it to blood. That is, what will happen to compensate lesser reabsorption of sodium at proximal convoluted tubule? Latter part of the nephron will work more hard and will try to reabsorb more and more sodium. And this will lead to milding or lowering the effect of acetazolamide. And that is how drugs that work at proximal convoluted tubule by inhibiting carbonic acid anhydrase enzyme are mild diuretics. What are the additional effects? Here, sodium is not going, water won't go, so water excretion will also occur. More bicarbonate excretion will also occur. So this way we conclude about acetazolamide, that is carbonic acid anhydrase inhibitor.